Welcome back. Those who have been with us since March and those who are new with us, welcome. My name is Jema and this is
Benji. And I am Veline.
those of you who have none. And from the beginning, we said it's gonna be the three of us, but due to a whole lot of transition that's been happening, which is one of the top, and that's the main topic today: transition. Because of transition we've been through, myself, each of my partner, and all three of us combined together, we have not been able to be here. We apologize sincerely and also be grateful. We are grateful for those who have stick with us, emailed us, contacted us. We appreciate it. So today we're bringing to you based on that transition. What is transition? And how do you know you're going to transition? One of the main signs of transition is knowing that you're afraid, because I've been so afraid. We have been so afraid, not being able to come here to keep this going, not to be able to come here to actually be able to connect together, to come together to do this, and kind of like to keep our promises. It scares me. It scares us, to know we're not keeping our promise. And transition it makes you doubt yourself. Like, as if, okay, if I was supposed to be doing this, I'm not doing that, and I was supposed to be on board with something. It scares you. These are some of the signs. It gives you anxiety.
It makes you feel overwhelmed.
Definitely. So the moment you go into transition, you can see those are the signs, and overwhelmed, and those are mental and emotional.
Yes.
But when you put this together, it can give you headaches.
Yes.
Body tense,
anxiety
can transform into so much.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that we've been going through individually, knowing that, oh my God, next week's gonna come, we can't, because this one is happening, this thing is happening. So a lot of you are going through this right now. We would like you to pay attention to that. And it's okay when you go into those, the transitional times in your life, you feel anxious, you feel overwhelmed, you feel fear, you feel doubt, because you're doubting yourself, you're doubting your ability to communicate, you're doubting your ability to make that thing happen, because most people are afraid of the unknown. We are afraid of the unknown. It's normal too. And I remember we did a presentation recently, and our first question to people are, has anybody ever experienced mental illness, mental health? Because we all gone through some of those things. So transition has steps in it. There's coping skills, which my partner is going to be talking about. Brittany's going to be talking about when she introduces herself as well. And what are some coping skills? What is coping skill? And then my lovely partner will let you know how to settle in when you are going to transition.
What is coping skill? Coping skills is the strategies that you use when you feel stressed or going through some issues, that can affect, like you say, your mental health, and your mental and physical at the same time.
I agree. Yeah.
Yes. How do you recognize that you are going through transition phase, and how do you deal with the transition?
That is
utilize coping skills. Some of us during that time use what we think is best for us, but also the question is, are you using the right coping skills? Because there is positive and negative coping skills.
I tend to shut down. Would you say it's a good coping skill?
No.
Sometimes I just shut down.
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
Depending.
So one says yes, one says yes and no. So let's hear.
Depending on what is going on at the time. Okay. Let's say if it's a situation, because we're gonna include positive and negatives, right? Let's say as a woman you are going through domestic violence. You cannot just shut down.
Okay.
You have to find strategies.
So what would be a good coping skill for, like you just said, for a female that's experiencing, which is being female? As we had said before in the previous show, men go to domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
So we have to.
So I would say, I would take that female back. I would say anybody that is going
Okay.
through domestic
All
violence.
right.
You cannot just shut down. Maybe for a second, you can use the freeze, motion, but you have to be able to come back to your feelings and your emotions and say, you know what, I cannot just stay freeze. I have to step out of this and use positive coping mechanisms to get out of the situation, which is finding resources,
Mm-hmm.
talk about it with a specialized,
Okay. Like
know,
a therapist.
a
or-
therapist,
Okay.
a psychologist, to help you find positive mechanisms if you have to move, transition from the place where you are to another place.
Okay.
So you are going to use negative to positive.
So
That
so it's like saying it's okay if you at the moment and for somebody like me who tends to shut down, it's like leave me the heck alone, stay away from me, and I'm a therapist.
to catch yourself. To catch yourself.
This one is looking at me, it's like, yeah, I tell her all the time, don't do that. Yeah, remember you're a therapist, but and I agree because you shut down, but at the moment you shut down because anything you use and if you overuse it, it's not a good thing.
Exactly.
Right? So when you shut down and you take that deep, but it's like taking a space from the moment.
Yes.
But you have to get out of the shutdown.
Yes,
Okay.
because during that time you freeze, but you are not freeze because you are using your
thinking.
mindfulness. You are thinking,
Okay.
okay, what is best for me to do? How can I move from this situation to another situation?
So for those who don't know what mindfulness is, what would you say? Mindfulness is another strategy in coping skills. Right?
Yes.
What would you say mindfulness is?
Mindfulness is when you use your thoughts or your mental capacity to a situation where you feel like your body is not responding
Okay.
to what is going on around you. And if I'm wrong, please correct me because this is a conversation we are having.
Yes, we are.
But to add into that is what it is that you take a moment to analyze what's happening to you. There's a skill through delectable behavioral therapy that they do, especially in group therapy, and it's centered around food.
Mhm.
And what they would do, they would have the people bring a piece of candy or a piece of chocolate, and they would use mindful, because there's mindful eating, there's mindful
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
They would use the piece of candy before you even eat it, before you even do anything or taste it. They would have you examine carefully what's in your hands, and then from there, the wrapper, how does it feel? Describe it, so it goes into depth about what's going on. Once you take it out of the wrapper, what's the sound you're hearing? What does it feel like once you open it up? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? So using your
Mhm.
5 senses. So using mindfulness is being able to use all your 5 senses. One that I always do in my practice is a 1-minute mindfulness, to just take a moment, take in the environment that you're in, who's
Mhm.
around you, what's going on, is it clean, is it dirty? Then I want you to go back into yourself. What are you feeling? You have to label the emotions, the exact emotion that you're feeling. Good and okay are not emotions. You need to label exactly what you're feeling. And part of that is you get out of your body, and then you would say, okay, what in my environment that's making me feeling that way? If it's not the environment, what are you thinking about? What are you smelling? Sometimes a smell, a simple smell can trigger something in you, trigger an emotion in you, and you don't even know what's happening because you're not paying attention to it. So being mindful or using mindfulness help you to analyze what's happening with you and within your environment.
I think it goes back to what Valine was saying. Like when you shut down, you're not really shutting down unless you shut down the brain. Because the moment you shut down, you can also use the mindfulness of all this thing and have
Not
the
always.
exercise. Okay.
Not always.
All right. So
Tends to shut down. They just shut down.
Mhm.
Everything is shut down.
Okay.
Nothing is working, and it's hard for them to realize that that's what's happening
Mhm.
unless somebody said, you've shut down.
Too long.
Like somebody has
Like
to
somebody
help
was
them,
bugs me.
especially people who, yeah, especially anyone who has chronic trauma. People who has chronic trauma, when they shut down and they're working with their emotional brain, then that's all they have, and that's what they're responding to. They're not working with their
Mhm.
wise mind or their reasonable mind. They're just focusing on the emotional, and they're acting based on the emotion, but because they're shut down and they will not let anything else in. So it's like a double-edged sword, really, because you have to know that you've shut down
Yes.
for you to do something
Do you?
about it.
Yes.
So, well, I
And that
agree.
brings us back to using mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
You have
Okay,
to
it
know what's
makes-
happening.
Mhm.
You have to know that you shut down, because if you don't know what you don't know.
Well, okay. So I agree. And as I said many times, I have told people when they know when I'm, like,
You're shut down.
Shut
Yes.
down.
stay away from me, and they'll be on the phone. Hey, yeah, you're not doing the right thing, right?
So if we're going to looking at more as a culture, in a culture lens, with Haitians specifically, that's all I can speak on because that's where I'm from. But
That's the
if
main
we
target.
were,
As
yeah, if we were to focus on Haitian shutdown is like, this happened. Okay, great. Let's ignore it happened and let's move forward. What's next? What's for food? What's for dinner?
Or we use reverse psychology
Mhm.
to respond to situations. For example, something for trauma, we use jokes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything is a joke,
Yeah.
Oh,
either.
and we
Yeah.
laugh at it.
Yeah.
We laugh
It's not
at
dealt
it.
with. It's not dealt with.
It's not dealt with. It's just like a joke, and then we
And we move on.
we move on.
But we're not really moving on.
No.
No.
We try to shut it down.
We
You're not
ignore
really
it.
shutting
We
down.
ignore it.
Ignore is
Yeah.
the better. Yeah, we ignore it and we move on. This is why a lot of us suffer with a lot of emotional difficulties and don't even know what's happening. So my mother recently had her driver's test, and the day before she passed, congratulations to her.
Yay.
But the day before she had her test, she was shaking. She couldn't eat. She was pale as a ghost. She was walking
There's
around.
no way you could tell somebody this is anxiety.
Mhm.
A typical Haitian. You
She-
cannot say this is
she
anxiety
was
or mental.
pale. She was pale, and she just thought, I just ignore her because I know what's happening, and I know she's not going to listen because she doesn't suffer from mental health. So she says, which is fine. That's where she is. That's okay. And the day of, we were having a conversation. She was so panicky, in a panicky mood. She was like, I'm not gonna go anymore because
Yeah.
you're mad, because I
Yeah.
was talking with her. But
So you were mad.
no, I wasn't mad.
No. What I'm saying is, what I'm hearing is she says she's not going because you were mad.
Right,
Project
right,
two.
yeah, because I
Okay.
was trying to talk to about a sensitive topic with her, and she wasn't. Then she was like, "You're upset. I don't want to go take the test anymore." I'm like, "What?" But I'm not the one taking the test. She was like, "Oh, you're upset. I don't want you to drive me." I'm like, "But you're driving yourself there. I'm gonna be in the car." But anyway, so I dropped the topic because she was panicking, and we get to the test. She's making simple little things that she would never make, like little simple errors that she would never make with me. But you could tell that she was very anxious. She wasn't herself, right? So she passed. She's happy. She's excited. She got home and she's on the phone spent all day with every friend. Thank you for prayer. Thank you for all your prayers. I passed the test. This and that. And she was like, I almost didn't go. The devil
yes.
was here. I almost did not go for my test because
The
I was
devil was
afraid
gonna
of-
stop.
the devil almost stopped me. And I had this dream, and she goes into it, and then she says, I went to sleep. All my body was shaking. Everything
Yes.
inside me
What we were
was
saying earlier,
shaking.
right?
And I just
Yes.
my heart was beating so fast, like I couldn't sleep.
Anxiety.
Like she's describing them in my head. I'm like,
Anxiety.
Yes.
right.
Mom, you're saying
But
anxiety.
she's not
Mom, you're saying,
Yeah.
when the people are saying this, you go in anxiety, right?
I can relate because every time I have to do public speaking,
Mhm.
What did I say?
my body, but not this morning. No, what my body
Yeah, that's it.
shut down.
Yeah.
because I'm thinking like so many people are going to be looking at me.
Mhm.
I'm going to mumble.
Mhm.
I'm going to miss my words.
Mhm.
You know, this is the same thing. The fear of seeing of somebody with somebody next to her that she doesn't know, and she's thinking, I'm going to have to translate whatever is going to say to me.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not going to be able to respond
Mhm.
well, and then I'm going to drive on the street that I don't know.
Well,
I've
transition.
been learning to drive on that street.
Well,
This is not going to be the same street.
And you know, her reaction to all that was to shut down.
Shut down.
And it wasn't the right shutdown because she wasn't acknowledging what she was
That's when the
happening
womb
in
shut
her
down.
life.
Okay.
Yes.
So the reaction when you spoke with her was freeze, fight, and flight.
She froze.
She froze.
Mhm. She
And also a little bit of self-sabotage was happening
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But during that time, it's the fear of transition.
yes.
I'm going to
I'm going to
have-
drive. I'm going to
I'm
have
going
a
to
car.
dri- I'm going to have a car. I'm going to have to drive
Right.
myself
Transition.
to places right now. It's transition.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to have a car. Now I'm not gonna have an excuse to call my daughter or such and such to give me a ride anymore.
All of this is happening, but she's not aware of all. She can only focus on the present moment,
Exactly.
passing the test, not ignoring the background, because the background is very important. We tend to
Mhm.
ignore it a lot, but it's very important,
Mhm.
everything that was happening. But this was the bad shutdown because, yes, she can feel the symptoms, but she doesn't really know what's happening. She put other words to it. It's the, it's the devil. It will never identify that it's, oh, I'm stressed because I'm scared. I'm scared. And then me, what I was saying, I'm like, Mom, just breathe. It's okay.
Mhm.
And I was telling my own experience when I have something called test anxiety. The way you're feeling right now,
Mhm.
that's exactly how I am when I'm going to go take a big test. I'm exactly like this. It's
Mhm.
okay. Just breathe through it. It's hard. It hurts. It's okay. You're going to be okay. Even that, trying to make her aware of it, trying to bring some
Mhm.
mindfulness to her, it wasn't enough
That was not happening.
because she wasn't acknowledging what was happening.
And it's
But also
not-
you have to know. You have to know to acknowledge it because you said it earlier. So you have to know you shut down to
Yes.
know what to do.
Yes.
But culturally, if we also being honest and frank, direct with it, she doesn't know those things.
No.
That's why we jump in the Haitian culture because we Haitian, so we're gonna focus on that. We're not gonna touch somebody else's culture. In the Haitian culture, it's the devil.
Mhm.
That's why she kept on repeating, the devil is making me do this, the devil is making me do that.
reverse psychology.
Yes,
We have to find something to blame it on.
yes.
To
Instead
just-
of accepting it, how do you settle into the adjustment?
That's your
Mhm.
part.
The thing that you do is acknowledge
Mhm.
what's happening. If you are in denial, ask yourself why you're in denial. Don't just try to find an answer to what's happening, but just inquire about what's happening.
But what if you don't know why you're in denial?
What-
It is hard to overcome a cultural belief that, well, if I can't go and take my test, it's the devil doing that to me. If I can't get up and go to work today, it's somebody's doing it to me. Or because I was mad at Verlene is doing some type of voodoo on me. So if you get to that point and you can't get the person
Mhm.
cannot acknowledge that.
So
So
you go with that reality that they have. Don't fight the reality that they have. That's like, okay, fine.
Fine.
It's the devil that's making you do it. It's the devil that's making you not be able to do this, or it's a neighbor that's putting
Do it,
something
do
in.
it.
That's fine. Okay, what are you going to do about
Mhm.
it?
Mhm.
Are you gonna sit down and take it, or are you going to do something about it?
And it is good for you to evaluate yourself every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I feel overwhelmed, this is how I feel. But what can I do to get out of that freezing moment?
And to add up to that, when somebody is so stuck in their culture beliefs and believe that other things are responsible for what's going on with them, then you go with that and you say, okay, this person is really responsible for it, and that's the reality. You go with
so
it.
you
And
acknowledge
said-
it with them and
Yeah.
take it from
Yes.
okay.
And you
Ah,
said,
yes.
how does that make you feel? Where do you feel that? Are you afraid? Get the feelings out. It's like, okay, now you know the feeling.
Mhm.
bingo, and you know what's making you feel that way, and you know what to do, and that's how you start to settle in it. So it's okay to go with the person's reality.
Okay.
Whether or not you agree with it, that's
That's not the point. Okay.
yeah, it's
Okay.
not your reality, and that's what we do when we
Yeah.
work with anybody
Yes.
in the field, is that we go with what they're giving us, and you have to start with where they are. And for her, this is where she is. I can throw a little bit psychoeducation. Okay,
Yes.
I'm like, I get it.
So it's just like meeting for while somebody's going through transition and they're doing the coping skills. It's in that
Meeting
transition
them
where it's meeting them there.
Meeting where they are, you start where they are, and with her, that's where she was. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's true. But you are going to go for your test, even if the devil's telling you not to. You are going to go for it.
So it's like standing up against the bully.
Yeah.
Whether the bully is the devil, whether the bully is, you believe this is your mentor,
Whatever it is.
you're just standing up, against it and say, I am moving forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's how you settle into the transition. That we forgot to add is that adjustment. Is an actual diagnose, and you go through an adjustment period for like at least six months. 6 months that you go through it, right? Whatever it is, it could be going into college, a marriage, or a proposal, or
Transitioning from Haiti to here.
that's a
Buying a house.
buying a house, having a baby.
Having a baby.
Like any transition, or even buying a car.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
That's a transition.
Having a driver's license.
That's another transition.
Yes. So you were talking about Verlene
A new
earlier.
job,
Oh,
A new
God.
job.
Yeah.
a divorce.
Yes.
Oh, those are heavy.
Yes, but they're still transitions.
I would like to go back to just a little bit to where you're talking about coping skills. One of them is also knowing how to look for resources. I'm thinking about bringing that up. People coming from Haiti, transitioning to
not
the
just
language.
Haiti. People are coming from
Anywhere.
everywhere. Trying to adjust.
Adjust to the language, adjust to the environment. I know we talked about that in one of the segments, but the resources, but as a coping skills to know, and also standing up to say, okay, this is what I know that I need to do. Let me move forward to do that, and go use that coping skills as a way to, this is the resource that I need. Let me access it, not to say the devil is making me sit here and not doing anything, and the environment is making me sit here, or because Verlene or Benji is doing something to me. So those transitions, transitions period is hard.
It's hard.
So when somebody come from a foreign country and come here, and then we talk about the clashing and all of that, this is a heavy transition to go through, and not having the proper support sometimes. So how do we support that transition? Because the transition also happened. The person coming in
Education.
and the person receiving them. That's an also transition, because imagine I've been living by myself for 10, 15 years, right? And then I'm bringing somebody, whether it's my husband, whether it's, my family member.
Yeah.
This is a new person coming into my space that was mine for 15 years.
Education
Education.
is where you start.
Yes. And then with yourself, you educate yourself and you create your own boundaries.
Boundaries. Yes.
But what do we know? Haitian Creole.
Yeah. Boundaries.
That word in Haitian Creole.
You create your own boundaries. That's where you start. You educate yourself. Don't ever stop asking yourself questions before you go out and ask questions.
I like
It
that.
starts with him.
I like
Yes.
I like that. You know what? The second season we'll touch about boundaries, because as I said, I got all excited.
We gotta find a word for it though.
We don't have that in Haitian Creole.
We gotta figure it out.
So we'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
But today, I'm very happy, and we talked about how heavy transition is. We've been to it, and we've been through all these things that we're talking about as producers, and as also co-hosts of Shut Up Until You're There. But we here, we stand up against every odds for us to be here today, because it was not easy. Just like we said, stand up against the bully. We had to stand up against our own individual bullies, each of us, and also looking at the audience waiting for us to come and do you. Thank you for listening, and please Benjit gonna do her thing, in putting all those links here to connect with us, to, talk to us and put your comment in there and subscribe to push us and to do the good work for you. But until you know what somebody's going through, until you understand what coping skills is, until you learn what transition is, let's just say, shut up
Until you're there.